You mentioned something that I wanted to ask you about right now. Because adding to all the LGBT issues that we have here, or anti-LGBT issues, I would call them anti-LGBT issues that we have right here, right now, there is a great problem with the rule of law that we have. A Court of Justice of the European Union is looking at some questions from Polish judges. European Commission is trying to sue some Polish laws and try to check if they are legal. There's a great mess right now in Poland regarding what's really the law, what's not the law, which rulings are rulings, which rulings are not rulings.
Yes.
And my question is, what you think that European Union should do about that? How should European Union react? And if the European Union is reacting correctly at this point, is it okay what they are doing, or maybe they should do something else, or yeah?
Well, let me maybe say it this way. I think the direction that the European Commission is looking into is the right one.
Mm-hmm.
I just think the pace at which they're moving is far too slow. I mean, we have had this ECJ ruling on the disciplinary chambers in last April, April last year. Now it's almost a year and they haven't moved on, even though it's already clear how the Polish authorities are planning to circumvent that ECJ ruling. Same on infringement procedures on LGBTI-free zones, LGBTI ideology-free zones. You know, we want to see some action. We have anti-discrimination policies in place on the European level. We have cases that can be taken as a reference. So we would like to see a case now, because now, correct me if I'm wrong, already almost 2 years ago, the first municipalities declared themselves.
Yeah, around 2 years, that's true.
So, and there you just see the Commission, you know, being this really big apparatus that it just takes a very long time to react. And in the meantime, already new laws have been adopted, already new steps have been taken, already new attacks have been planned. And, you know, now we have a juridical system in Poland that, I mean, it's notable that a lot of judges in Europe, you know, this arrest warrant situation, they're not even referring people back to Poland because they cannot be sure that people are actually going to have a just process there. So I think that we are already in the middle of it. The Commission has been too slow in reacting, and what we are trying to do is, and this I believe it's what we need coming from Poland as a very clear message, but also from the other member states, to say that non-action and slow action are not options anymore, that we need to see a faster pace for the Commission to act. But is
this slow pace of actions going place something that is common for European Union or for Commission itself, or is it this specific issue that is being led a bit differently than the others?
Well, I would say that there are several issues where I think the Commission is acting too slowly. But I would say here specifically there is a political reason behind it. Because as you can remember, in the end of last year, there was this big fight about the EU budget and the Resilience and Recovery Facility that, you know, countering the crisis, investing into climate-friendly policies, into economic engagement, digitalization, so on and so on. And then Poland and Hungary stood there and said that they are going to block the whole package because we had some parts of it that actually needed unanimity. If the rule of law conditionality that, as you know, is now in place, would be adopted. And there it was very clear to see that the Commission, as long as they had this sort of Damocles sword above themselves that maybe Poland was going to block and that they're basically blackmailing the rest of the Union, they were very reluctant to take action. And I think that this is something, like if we start working like this, and if every member state can just say that if I don't get what I want, then next time I'm going to take everybody else hostage and not move ahead with budgetary decisions where we sometimes need unanimity and so on, then the project is not going to work in the long run. So I would say, especially in situations like this, we need a strong reaction from the European Commission, and we cannot go down this path of the member state that is bullying the others the most is actually going to get what they want. I think that the final outcome of this, that we have the rule of law conditionality, also that the Polish and Hungarian governments backed off, that is the situation as it stands. And now on the basis of the legal instruments we have, the infringement procedures that can come, the Article 7 procedure, but also the rule of law conditionality, the Commission has to do more. And I hope, I mean, they now tell us that they're going to bring another case until April, which is in 2 months. Let's hope that we are going to see this, and then with a faster pace, move the next steps to really have some material impact on the ground.
Let's hope we'll still be alive when it happens. But taking I know you're very busy, but I just wanted to ask you a few last things. The spring is coming. And the Pride season is coming. I don't know if you know that, but in Poland we start in April actually, and we finish around October. So it's like the longest Pride season I think ever, because we have so much smaller and bigger marches going on each and every year, more and more of them. But of course, last year was a bit different, obviously. So what do you think? Are there any chances that we will have some Pride parades this year in Europe?
Oh my God, I hope so much. I need it so much. I think last year I was in one Pride, which was the Pride in my hometown, Gelsenkirchen. And other than that, I mean, I wasn't some others, but more like on the side. So it didn't feel like the full experience. And I really hope that this summer and spring we can have Prides again, because I really think that it's a moment for the community to come together, to obviously also demonstrate. I mean, Prides are demonstrations. They are not just random gatherings. I mean, we come together to demonstrate for our rights. So they are very politicized moments, but obviously they are also crucial, I think, for some of our well-being. You know, I always have the feeling that when I'm in Prides, I really feel like I can be myself. You know, I can breathe. We have this diverse, beautiful community. We are all together. We all try to have our space. I know that there are conflicts in the community as well, and that's fine as long as we constructively deal with them. But I really think that the community needs this coming together. And maybe just to tell you that in the Parliament, obviously, we are also thinking a lot about what does this do. And one of the things that we want to do also maybe to open a little bit the season and this spring and, you know, getting together. We are planning to adopt a resolution in March in the European Parliament. And this is set to, drum roll, declare the European Union to an LGBTI freedom zone. So, you know, we want to say very clearly, we are the elected representatives of the citizens of the European Union, and we very clearly see that we know it's not reality, but we are going to do everything that every person, every queer person, every LGBTI person can live freely and equally inside of the European Union, and we are not going to rest until this is going to be a reality.
That's fantastic, and that sounds so so empowering. And I do agree with you that prides are not only a political issue, which is very important, but also they are simply empowering us. And I always say that it gives me power for the rest of 365 days of the year to go on to do things. Terry, I'm so delighted I had a chance to talk to you. You probably don't remember because we just spoke a few words like a few years ago on the Pride in Warsaw. So that's very
in Warsaw. Yes.
So
I remember.
I'm so happy that we had a chance to catch up. Let's call it catch up. And I'm really my fingers are crossed for the resolution that you just talked about, and I'm really do appreciate what you're doing for LGBT community in Poland, but also in European Union as well. All over the world actually, because it's a connected world right now. And thank you very much for your time and for being here with us.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. And I'll keep you posted. And I hope that the next catch-up is not going to wait so long.
Hope so too. Thank you very much.
Bye.